Hey guys, welcome to lesson 1, learning about Revit. Why don't we go ahead and start by opening up Revit right off. So again, I'm using Revit 2015. Now, whatever version you guys are using, you guys can date back all the way to 2013. I wouldn't recommend before that, but again, it depends what you guys have. If you're using Revit, from an old commercial version, you can use that. If not, I'd suggest going to Autodesk website. You can download a free 30-day trial if you want to. If you're a student, you can go on their student website. The product will last for about 3 years, and then you can download the latest one next year. But for today's purpose, so we opened up Revit 2015, and again, you'll see your projects, your families, new conceptual mass, your template files, and Revit even comes with some sample architecture projects. Now, if you're in the US, I'm sorry, but the sample architecture project's actually in metric. Same thing, I believe, with the sample structure project. So for today's purpose, I just want to go through basically how to start a new project, how the new interface is, and how everything's sort of set up. So to do that, a lot of times, most of my students make the mistake of going into a commercial template. I do not want you guys working in a commercial template, only because you'll find out later on that there's actually views and different properties set to each of these templates. So some of your firms might actually be set up with, a residential template or a commercial template, or you might have an interior tenant build-out template, a demolition. You can have all different types of templates based on your projects. But for today's purpose, what I'll do is I'll go to New, and architectural template. I'll have that all selected, and again, make sure your project's selected, and you can hit OK. Now, once Revit loads up, you'll notice right now we have a ribbon system. So you have your typical start file, so you can file, new, save as, export, etc. So you have different options on there. Now you have your ribbon tab, which again, you have the architecture tab, structures tab, systems tab, insert, annotation, analyze, massing site, collaboration tab, view tab, manage, add-ins, and your modify tab. Now your modify tab, I'm going to go through in the next lesson on sort of how some of these functions and how some of these buttons sort of work out, why some of them work with different things and certain things won't. So again, we click back on the architecture tab. You're going to be constructing with walls, doors, windows, different components, because understand that Revit is no longer, we're not drawing two lines anymore like we did in AutoCAD to represent something. You're actually building 3D models. Okay, so understand that Revit, while you are building 3D models, it's actually a 4D platform, which we'll go into in a much later and much more advanced courses that deal with the phasing of projects, whether it be demolition, existing conditions, or new construction. So again, Revit's really set up much more in a architecture, engineering, interior design background. It's no longer like AutoCAD that you have the ability to just draw lines freely and can use that creativity for anything, because AutoCAD's more of just a drawing tool rather than modeling. So whether you're using, again, walls, doors, windows, or different components, we'll insert that into our model and it will generate a 3D platform. Now you have your properties tab, your project browser, and both of these are really critical. At least for me, I always keep these open 24/7 every time I'm modeling in Revit. Because again, our properties will show basically the properties of any of these components that we insert into Revit. But even right now, when I'm not have anything selected, as you can see, I actually have my view scale, how my display model is, my detail level. And so when you don't have anything selected, understand that these properties are actually of your view. So you'll see view templates, view name, different crop views, view range. And view range we'll get into and understand a little bit more as we move further on through this course. And then we have our project browser right down below. Our project browser is going to have floor plans, ceiling plans, elevations, 3D models, 3D views, perspectives, any type of view that you need basically will pop up. And again, it's going to make your life a lot easier to be able to navigate with this menu open. Because again, this menu not only will control your views, but it's also going to have your legends, your schedules, and even your sheet setups. So for when you have to print out sets of drawings, they're going to be actually listed under your project browser. Families, basically, or components that you'll understand later on in this course that are actually within your file. So right now, even as we speak, we have different types of doors loaded into our file. We have different ceilings. So our files, while you guys might be used to kilobytes or even megabytes, you will see that Revit files can get up anywhere from, I've seen 2 megabytes all the way up to 500 megabytes. So these files can get a lot more loaded, but again, that's because it's containing all these different components and attributes that you'll see later on. So a lot of the time, most of my students accidentally make mistakes and close their project browser and properties. Now, if this happens, as you can see, I've lost both of them. You can actually right click and click on your properties, so that'll bring up your properties, or your browser, and then you can do your project browser, and that'll pop back up as well. Now, if you, let's say you don't remember how to do that method, you can actually also go up under the View tab right up top, and then go to your user interface. So your user interface will also control what tabs and what things you see, and you'll see my project browser and both my properties are currently unchecked. So if I check those off, well, there's my properties and then my project browser, and so both have appeared again. Now for the guys that don't like maybe both menus on top of each other, you can always click on one and drag it right off. Same thing with your properties. So some people with dual monitors like to have all your menus on one screen and have a nice display of, where you can model right in the middle. Now me personally, I always like the stack method, but again, maybe you like your properties up top. Maybe you prefer, just your properties on one side and your project browser on the other. And again, these will snap to these points. So again, it might take some time fooling around with which, how they snap, but they will snap onto it. So again, I'll just reset this. And there we go. So again, if you don't like how your setup is, you can modify that. And that's even true with your different tabs. So these tabs, I can actually move around. I have my build tab over there. I'll move my room tab, over here. And maybe I like this setup. And again, this will stay with your with your Revit. So just like AutoCAD where you can modify your interface, you can do the same with Revit. So I'm going to move my build tab back here just to keep it consistent with what you guys are probably looking at. And I'll move my room tab back. Okay, so again, that's sort of your user interface. You can move these tabs also out clearly and undock them if you choose to. And again, you can modify it. So without further ado, if you guys want to move on to the next tab, we'll go through your modify settings. This modify tab, again, a lot of different customizations. So again, I'll see you guys in the next lesson.